You keep trying to leave, but the one thing you carry with you every time is the very thing you're trying to escape. You change cities, you change people, you change habits, routines, identities. And yet, at the end of every escape, there you are again, unchanged in the one place that matters, waiting. It's not your circumstances that trap you, it's you. And somewhere deep inside, you already know that. There is a quiet contradiction living within you. You say you want peace, but you feed the chaos. You say you want love, but you push it away. You say you want to change, but something in you resists it with an almost deliberate cruelty. Not toward the world, but toward yourself. You ruin things that could have saved you, not by accident, not by ignorance, but by choice. And the most disturbing part is this. You often see it happening while it happens. You watch yourself say the wrong thing, make the wrong decision, destroy something fragile, and you do nothing to stop it. Or worse, you lean into it. This is where logic fails you. Because if you were rational, truly rational, you would choose what benefits you. You would avoid pain. You would build, not destroy. But you don't. And neither did Dostoevsky's underground man. He wasn't ignorant. He wasn't naive. He understood himself with terrifying clarity. He saw every contradiction, every weakness, every irrational impulse. And yet he chose them anyway. Not despite knowing better, but because he knew better. You see, there is something in you that resists being reduced to logic. Something that refuses to be predictable, optimized, controlled. Something that would rather suffer than become a machine that always chooses what's best. You don't just want happiness. You want freedom. Even if that freedom means choosing what hurts you. Even if that freedom means destroying what you love. And that is why you cannot escape yourself. Because the prison isn't made of walls. It's made of choices you insist on making.
You felt it before. That moment when everything is going well, too well. The relationship is stable. The future looks clear. There's no immediate threat, no chaos, no uncertainty. And suddenly, something feels wrong. Not because anything is actually wrong, but because nothing is. You begin to overthink. You question things that didn't need questioning. You replay conversations. You imagine hidden meanings. You look for cracks in something that was whole. And eventually, you find them. Or you create them. You pick a fight. You withdraw. You say something sharp, something unnecessary, something that shifts the atmosphere just enough to break the fragile calm. And afterward, when everything is slightly worse than it was before, you feel a strange sense of relief, because now it makes sense again. Now there is tension. Now there is uncertainty. Now there is something to fix, something to worry about, something to struggle with. You don't just tolerate suffering. You recognize yourself in it. This is the secret you don't like to admit. Happiness feels foreign to you. Not because you don't want it, but because you don't trust it. Peace feels like an illusion, and you have spent too long living in conflict to believe in illusions. So you sabotage what could have been real. You trade stability for intensity. You trade clarity for confusion. You trade love for control. Because control is easier than vulnerability. And vulnerability is where you risk losing everything. But here is the deeper contradiction. You are not afraid of losing everything. You are afraid of having something real and being unable to destroy it. Because as long as you can destroy something, you remain in control. The underground man understood this. He would deliberately act against his own interest, not out of ignorance, but out of defiance. a rebellion against the idea that he could be predicted, improved, or fixed. And you do the same thing. You stay up too late even when you're exhausted.
You check your phone when you know there's nothing you want to see. You revisit memories that hurt you. You delay things that matter. You engage in patterns you've already identified as destructive, and every time, there is a quiet voice in your mind that says, "You shouldn't do this." But another voice answers, "I know." And you do it anyway. Not because you're weak, but because something in you refuses to be governed by reason alone. You don't just want to live a better life. You want to feel that it is yours, even if that means making it worse. This is the paradox. You sabotage yourself not because you hate yourself, but because you cannot tolerate the idea of being controlled, even by your own desire for happiness. You want to be free, but freedom, in its purest form, includes the freedom to choose suffering. And you exercise that freedom more often than you realize. Think about the moments you replay in your head, the conversations you could have handled differently, the chances you didn't take, the words you regret. You don't just remember them, you return to them again and again. You reopen wounds that had already begun to heal. Why? Because pain confirms something. It confirms that you are still you, that you are still capable of feeling, of hurting, of existing in a way that is undeniably real. Happiness can feel abstract, but pain is undeniable. Pain is proof, and so you hold on to it. Not consciously, not deliberately, but persistently. You become attached to the very things that harm you, not because you enjoy suffering, but because suffering feels honest. There is no illusion in it, no ambiguity, just raw, undeniable existence. Dostoevsky knew this because he lived it. He stood in front of a firing squad, believing he was about to die. He experienced, in those final moments, a clarity that most people never reach, a confrontation with existence stripped of all illusions. And then, at the last second, he was spared, returned to life. But not to the same life. Because once you've seen existence that clearly, you can't go back to pretending. You begin to see the contradictions everywhere. The way people say one thing and do another. The way they claim to seek happiness, but cling to suffering. The way they avoid pain while secretly needing it. And you begin to see it in yourself. You realize that your problem is not that you don't know what to do. Your problem is that knowing doesn't change you. You know you should move on. You know you should let go. You know you should stop repeating the same patterns. But knowledge does not equal transformation. Because the conflict is not intellectual. It is existential. It lives in the gap between what you know and what you choose. And that gap is where you exist. You are not your intentions. You are your actions. And your actions often contradict everything you claim to want. This is why you feel stuck. Not because you lack direction, but because you resist it. There is a part of you that does not want resolution, that does not want closure, that does not want peace. Because resolution means the end of struggle, and struggle is what gives your life its texture. Without it, everything feels flat, empty, meaningless. So you create problems, subtly, quietly, indirectly. You complicate situations that could have been simple. You hesitate when you should act. You act when you should pause. You blur lines that could have been clear. And then you suffer the consequences. And in that suffering, you feel alive. This is the cruel loop.
You are both the prisoner and the architect of the prison. You build it, and then you try to escape it. But every escape leads you back to the same structure, because you built it with your own patterns, and you carry those patterns with you. You cannot outrun something that lives inside you. You cannot change your environment enough to escape your own mind. Wherever you go, you recreate the same dynamics. Different faces, same story.
You meet someone new. You tell yourself this time will be different, and for a while it is. You are more open, more careful, more aware. But slowly, the old patterns return. You begin to doubt, to withdraw, to test, to push boundaries, to see how much the other person can tolerate. Not because you want to lose them, but because you need to confirm something, that they will leave. Because if they leave, it validates your belief. And if they stay, it threatens it. Because staying means something real, and something real is harder to control. So you create distance, just enough to feel safe, just enough to avoid complete vulnerability. And in doing so, you ensure that what you feared eventually happens. Not because it was inevitable, but because you made it so. This is how you participate in your own suffering, not as a victim, but as a co-creator. And this is where the discomfort deepens, because it means you are not powerless. It means you are responsible. Not for everything that has happened to you, but for how you continue it. You are not just reacting to the past, you are repeating it, reinforcing it, choosing it, even when you don't realize it, especially when you don't realize it. This is the part that feels unbearable, because it strips away the illusion that you are simply unlucky, misunderstood, or trapped by circumstances. It reveals that something in you is complicit, that something in you prefers the familiar pain over the unfamiliar peace, because the familiar, no matter how painful, is predictable, and predictability feels safe, even when it hurts you, especially when it hurts you. You've learned to navigate pain. You know how it works. You know how to survive it. But peace requires something else. It requires surrender. It requires trust. It requires letting go of control. And that is far more terrifying than suffering. Because in suffering, you are still in control of your experience. You understand it. You can anticipate it. You can manage it. But in peace, you have to let go. And letting go feels like losing yourself. So you hold on to habits, to thoughts, to identities that no longer serve you, because they are yours, and losing them feels like disappearing, even if keeping them is destroying you. This is why you cannot escape yourself, because yourself is not just who you are at your best, it is also who you are at your worst. Your contradictions, your impulses, your resistance, your quiet desire to break what you could build. And until you confront that, not as something external, but as something deeply yours, you will keep running in circles. You will keep searching for solutions in the wrong places, new environments, new people, new goals, hoping that something outside you will fix what is inside. But nothing outside you can resolve an inner contradiction. It can only expose it, amplify it, mirror it. And the more you try to escape, the clearer it becomes. That the problem is not where you are, it is how you are. And how you are
is something you carry everywhere. You don't just live your life. You recreate it, moment by moment, choice by choice, pattern by pattern. And until you see those patterns, not as accidents, but as expressions of something deeper, you will remain trapped within them. Not because you are incapable of change, but because you are unwilling to give up the part of yourself that resists it, the part that chooses suffering, the part that values freedom over happiness, the part that would rather be in control of pain than vulnerable in peace. And so you continue, not forward, not backward, but in circles, repeating, refining, deepening the same conflicts, until one day the question becomes unavoidable. Not, why does this keep happening to me? But, why do I keep choosing this? And that question is where everything shifts. Because it does not accuse, it reveals. It points not outward, but inward, to the one place you've been avoiding.
The one place you cannot escape. Yourself. And now you are left with something far more difficult than any external problem. Not how to change your life, but how to confront the part of you that resists change. The part that sabotages. The part that clings to suffering. The part that insists on being free, even if that freedom destroys you. So here you are, not at the end of an answer, but at the beginning of a confrontation. Because the truth you've been circling around is this: you are not trapped in your life. You are trapped in yourself. And the question is no longer whether you can escape, because you can't. The question is, what will you do with the one thing you cannot leave behind?